In this video, we've compiled 50 truly fascinating facts, and believe me, they're really going to surprise you. Let's begin.
In the 1960s, a curious experiment became very popular. Several fleas were then enclosed in a jar with a lid. At first, they jumped over and over again, trying to escape. They were left confined inside for a total of 3 days.
Upon returning, when the lid was taken off, the fleas no longer jumped out.
None tried to get out. In fact, none would jump beyond the lid's edge. Though the original experiment was never formally documented, science proved an identical phenomenon: learned helplessness. This explains how animals and even people can get so used to a set limit that they stop trying to cross it, even when they are completely free. In Japan, there is a phenomenon known as Shinrinsha. If you miss the last train, you're essentially stranded because taxis and hotels are prohibitively expensive. That's why office workers choose to go to bars and drink until morning, and many do so until they pass out. The following day, the streets are full of office workers passed out completely drunk. But the most shocking thing isn't that, but that passers-by leave bottles of water and electrolyte drinks beside them. Even if they're unconscious, no one robs them, and everyone helps. Operating room lamps do not cast shadows because they consist of multiple light sources arranged in circles, projecting illumination from various angles to a single specific point. On Mackinac Island in Michigan, the use of motorized vehicles is strictly prohibited. All transportation is carried out with horse-drawn carriages, including Amazon deliveries and other parcel services. Carpets may appear harmless, but they can actually accumulate up to 4 times their own weight in dust and dirt. This household dust isn't merely dirt. It contains dead skin cells, dust mites, bacteria, and even heavy metals from the surrounding air. In essence, carpets can actually be more contaminated than the very street outside. Anacondas must readjust their jaws after consuming food because when they devour enormous prey, the elastic ligaments that connect their jaws stretch out and become misaligned. Once they've finished, they open their mouths wide and carefully adjust them to realign the bones. In 2012, Australian market researchers set out to find the least attractive color for cigarette packs. They determined that Pantone 448 Sing o Sintak o Osek o Kinpaktor or E8C was the ugliest color in the world and is now the official color of all cigarettes in Australia. In the Arctic, there's a phenomenon so strange, scientists took years to understand it. Icebergs that sound as if they are breathing. These blocks of ice emit a deep whistling sound caused by air bubbles that have been trapped for thousands of years and are released as the ice melts. When you hear it, it sounds like a huge sleeping animal. In Alaska lives the wood frog, capable of freezing its entire body during the winter. Its heart stops, its blood ceases to circulate, and its body hardens like ice. But when spring arrives, it slowly soars and returns to life as if nothing had ever happened. Some people have muscles that the rest lost through evolution. The palmaris longus muscle in the forearm has vanished from 30% of the world's population. You can still check if you have it by bringing your fingers together and tensing your wrist. A small vertical tendon is sticking out. Tell me, do you have it? Chernobyl didn't just leave behind radiation. It also left behind many stopped clocks. When the explosion occurred, the many timepieces stopped precisely at 1:23 and 45. In the Pripyat Museum, there are display cases filled with rusted clocks, all frozen at that very minute, as if time itself had also died that very night. At the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, there exists a natural phenomenon so strange it seems taken from another planet, a lake within the sea. It's an accumulation of water so dense and heavily laden with salt that it doesn't mix with the rest of the ocean. It looks like a liquid surface within another, with waves and a perfectly visible shore. However, any fish that enters this lake dies instantly due to the toxicity of methane and salt. This here is a photograph of a real mummy cellar in 1875. In the 1960s, psychologist Solomon Asch demonstrated just how far people can do absurd things simply to fit in with others. They placed several actors inside an elevator. Everyone would come in and just stare at the back wall instead of looking forward. Then, a normal person who didn't know about the experiment would enter. Almost everyone, after a few seconds of discomfort, would also turn to face the wall without anyone telling them anything. The experiment demonstrated that the human brain prefers to be in agreement with others rather than standing alone against everyone else. When consuming fish, ensure that they are not infected with tapeworms. These are parasitic worms that can be found within the intestines and muscle tissue of certain animals. While it is not common to encounter animals infected with tapeworms, one must be very careful as these can grow up to 5 meters inside you. At Google, if an employee passes away, the company pays 50% of their salary to their partner for 10 years. In addition, their children receive $1,000 a month until they turn 19 years old. It's one of the most unusual and generous benefits in the corporate world. In the tropical rainforest, there exists a fungus so strange that it turns animals into real zombies. It's called Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, and when one of its spores enters the body of an ant, it begins to grow from within, taking control of its mind and its muscles. The moment the fungus becomes active, the ant completely loses its consciousness, and the fungus takes full control. The ant then proceeds to abandon its colony, climbs up a plant, and firmly attaches itself to a leaf. While she's there all alone, the fungus slowly feeds from deep inside her. After it has killed her, the fungus then sprouts from her head, releasing thousands of spores to infect other creatures and continue spreading itself. A truly terrifying parasite that manipulates its helpless victims as if they were nothing more than biological puppets. Your body glows in the dark, but you can't see it. Japanese scientists discovered that the human body emits a faint visible light caused by chemical reactions inside our cells when producing energy. This bioluminescence is about 1,000 times fainter than what the human eye can detect. That's why we never really notice it. But if you could actually see it, you would notice your face glows more brightly throughout the day when your metabolism is at its most active state. There is a jellyfish that practically never dies. Its scientific name is Turritopsis dochrenia, and it's commonly known as the immortal jellyfish. When it ages or suffers damage, instead of dying, its body transforms back into a younger version, effectively restarting its entire life cycle from the very beginning. Did you know that some fish can actually drown? When a lake freezes completely, some fish become trapped beneath the ice, alive but frozen. The oxygen in the water slowly depletes, and they are unable to rise to the surface, eventually suffocating to death. There is an organism capable of surviving in space, the vacuum, radiation, and even fire. It's called the tardigrade. Though many know it as the water bear, it's less than a millimeter in size and can stay frozen for decades without water or oxygen, then come back to life as if nothing happened. In 2007, scientists sent it to outer space, and it was the first animal to survive outside Earth without protection. When summer arrives in Japan, the heat becomes so incredibly intense that workers must wear special cooling clothing to prevent heat stroke. These specialized garments are equipped with small built-in fans, refreshing gel packs, and also provide essential UV protection. There is a metal so light that it can actually float. It's called sodium-potassium metal, and it's a liquid alloy that, despite being a metal, is actually less dense than water. If you place it on a liquid surface, it will not sink down, but if it touches the water directly, it will explode violently. In 2016, scientists discovered a virus that could not be categorized within any known family. They named it Jaravirus in honor of a Brazilian goddess. What's truly surprising is that 90% of its genes do not belong to anything currently registered in the global database. This means that the vast majority of its genetic code is completely unknown to science. Did you know there's a type of honey that can drug you and even send you to the hospital? In Turkey and Nepal, certain bees gather nectar from toxic flowers and produce what's known as mad honey. Just a single teaspoon can cause hallucinations, vomiting, fainting spells, and even a complete body collapse. It was once used as a poison in wars, and even today, some people continue to consume it purely for recreation and its effects. In 2006, the remarkable case of Jill Price was documented, a woman diagnosed with a condition known as hyperthymesia, which makes her capable of recalling absolutely every single day of her life since the age of 12. She can tell you what clothes she was wearing, what she ate, and what happened in the world on that very same day. Her memory was absolutely perfect, but it was also quite a burden. Nothing could ever be forgotten. In China, cash is not typically used, nor are credit cards. In many commercial establishments, you can conveniently pay with your face or by simply scanning the palm of your hand. Your face or your unique fingerprint serves as your digital wallet, and the payment is charged directly to your bank account, which is securely linked to your personal biometric data. Did you know your stomach completely renews itself every 3 or 4 days? Otherwise, the acids used to digest food would literally dissolve you from the inside. You've probably seen this strange lock on escalators, because with this key, you can make them stop and change direction, though many no longer have it because some mischievous people would change them. Did you know that trees actually sleep at night? Using specialized laser cameras, scientists observed their branches would drop a few centimeters while they rested, then slowly regaining their original position as the sun began to rise. A small group of people literally have no fears. They have mutations in the gene that regulates the amygdala, the brain's fear center. The most famous case is that of a woman known as patient SM, who felt no terror even when faced with snakes, weapons, or horror films. Tell us, would you like to be fearless? Think carefully about that answer, okay? Some people have organs on the opposite side of their body, a condition called situs inversus. All organs are reflected as if in a mirror, the heart on the right, the liver on the left. It affects approximately 1 in 10,000 people, and most don't even discover it until they undergo a medical examination. At the summit of Mount Everest, rocks contain shells and remains of oceanic creatures. This proves the Himalayas were once the ancient seabed before rising from India and Asia's collision. In old cathedrals, if you look closely at the glass, you'll see the top is thinner than the bottom. This is because, at a molecular level, glass is an extremely viscous liquid and not a solid. That's why stained glass melts, flowing millimeter by millimeter for centuries. Methane clathrate is an ice found at the bottom of the ocean. It encloses molecules of flammable gas within its structure. If you bring it to the surface and light it, the ice burns without melting. The sea smells of life that is dying. The ocean scent we perceive comes from dimethyl sulfide, a gas that's released when plankton dies. That salty and nostalgic fragrance is literally the smell of millions of tiny organisms silently decomposing. Oh, when an ant dies, it releases a specific molecule known as oleic acid. If you apply this substance to a living ant, its fellow ants will treat it as deceased and proceed to bury it. They cannot even convince themselves that the ant is still alive. This is the world's oldest elephant. Her name is Vatsala. She passed away at the age of 109 years in the Panna Tiger Reserve in India. Did you know that bees sleep 5 to 8 hours a day, often curled up inside flowers? They even tend to sleep in pairs, gently embracing each other's legs while they rest. The plaster casts of Pompeii were created when archaeologists found body-shaped voids within the hardened volcanic ash. Subsequently, these were filled with liquid plaster, which then produced realistic molds depicting the final moments of the victims of the eruption of Mount Vesuvius nearly 2 millennia ago. In California's Briones National Park, researchers have observed that ground squirrels, though primarily known for eating nuts and seeds, are now actively hunting, killing, and consuming small animals. This shark is so poisonous that if you consume it fresh, you could die. In Iceland, they bury it for several months so it can rot and lose its toxins. They call it hakarl, and when they unearth it, it smells like urine mixed with rotten cheese. Despite this, they still eat it. Its flavor is so incredibly strong that many people spit it out on their first attempt. And the worst part is, it still contains venom, but in a much smaller quantity. If you happen to see a green potato or one with sprouts, keep your distance. It could contain solanine, a natural toxin that can lead to nausea, vomiting, and even hallucinations. It was confirmed that after the TV series Breaking Bad gained widespread fame, many methamphetamine producers began coloring their product blue, as, according to the show, this indicates a high level of purity. In 1975, in Nebraska, the world's largest time capsule was buried, and it was unearthed this year, in 2025. Inside, they had placed over 5,000 objects, including a brand new car, a Chevrolet Vega from that very same year, covered in rust, but hey, completely intact. Vending machines kill more people than sharks. Each year, deaths are reported from people shaking them to free a jammed product. Their enormous weight can fall on you, crushing you with the same force as a minor crash. In Antarctica, some penguins lose their sanity. They wander off alone, inland, without food or direction, into the white nothingness. Scientists have observed them walking until they reach complete exhaustion and then collapse. Sometimes they try to stop them, but if they're brought back, they'll just escape again. It's as if something within their very own brain just completely shuts down. They refer to that particular phenomenon as the penguin's suicide. In Finland, if you're expecting a baby, you really don't have to worry at all. Here, the government gives you a box, but it's not just any ordinary box. It comes with a mattress, blankets, diapers, clothes, and absolutely everything essential to keep the baby comfortable during those crucial first few weeks. This tradition has saved thousands of lives, and today it's a part of our culture. Being born here is already an advantage. In many museums around the world, including the halls of the Louvre or the Prado Museum, the pieces displayed to the public are not always the originals, but rather identical conservation copies. The genuine ones are kept in climate-controlled underground chambers, because light, humidity, and the breath of visitors deteriorate them faster than the eye can even perceive. Scientists at College London have found that each old book releases a unique chemical pattern as its paper degrades. Using spectrometers, they can determine the approximate year and the type of ink just by analyzing its scent. The aroma of an old library isn't nostalgia, it's chemistry slowly evaporating from time.
Like what you see? Subscribe and hit that notification bell.